Hey there folks, it's Alex here from the show Alex Builds Stuff. It's the show where I build stuff and I show you. Today I'm here with Megan. And it's officially day one of the Badass Betty rebuild. That's really bright sun. And we're gonna empty out Betty because she's about to get a whole interior refit, which is pretty great. But first I'm gonna show you around Betty. Okay, so just to start, I want to show you the bumpers that I just finished for Betty recently, this past week. So I just built this. So it's a nice big steel bumper. Eventually we're going to put a winch and some lights and all the cool stuff on there. I built a roof rack as well for Betty. So there's going to be two rare earth elements solar panels up top. And then we're going to have two Pelican vault cases up here for storage. And then this right here, this is the rear bumper that I built, complete with an access ladder and a tire carrier. And those are both on swing outs. So yeah, that's what I've done on the exterior of Betty. So it's a little bit messy right now, but this is the interior van conversion that Megan did. Megan, when did you do it?
2020.
2020. She did this with a friend of hers?
Yeah, my best friend's stepdad, retired carpenter. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, and so now we're going to do a little bit of a modification of Nick's build. We're going to turn this bed into a converting bed that turns into a bench, much like I did in my client's van for Danny and Ken. We're going to take out this and we're going to make it a little bit more of a functional space. We're going to put a small wood stove there from my friend Andres of tinystove.com, and we're putting an entirely new electrical system in the van that will be from Rare Earth Elements, who's a company that I am now working with and installing their products. So yeah, it's kind of an exciting thing for us to be doing this because we're actually going to be living in Betty all winter. As of kind of the end of October, we're going to be heading down south to the southwestern states. We're going to be visiting a bunch of states, a bunch of people, then also heading into Baja, and then we'll be coming back into Canada around April. Next summer we'll be spending most of our time on Vancouver Island, and then possibly hopping back in the van and doing it all over again. So we got to make sure that Betty is a very, very comfortable and functional space. So tag along as we build the interior of this van. Alright, so we're just doing like a little remeasure of the interior space here so that I can do like a 3D model just to get an idea of what the space is going to look like. Kind of have the interior dimensions now, and now we're going to get to designing. Alright, so I've been designing for a few hours now. I have a pretty good idea of what the layout of Betty is going to look like. I had it all kind of jumbled up in my mind before, but luckily, I got my hands on SketchUp and I've just been kind of playing with it. And yeah, I'll show you what I've got done so far. Alright, so this is what I have basically come up with thus far for the Betty interior build. I have a lot of space to work with here, so I'm stuffing a lot in so that we have lots of storage space for everything, and then it's a really functional space. So you can see right here, I have kind of my customary fold up bed design. So this right here will eventually, like you can slide it out to become a full 6.5 foot long bed. Out from underneath, when it's in bench mode, there's this nice big like pull out drawer there for clothing or what have you. And then out the back, basically there'll be like just storage under here that we could basically just store random things. Over in the doorway, we're going to have our kitchen. Right here we'll have two Scepter jerry cans for water. Our gray water, which will just be wash water, will just drain out the bottom of the van. We're not going to try and collect it in a gray water tank because it's kind of silly. The door to the like space for the jerry cans will double as an actual cutting board surface. This right here represents where an induction cooktop is going to go. I'm thinking I might put a small little kind of like water receptacle or water like a sink up there, just so we can dump water if we need to. I also don't really know if I'm going to do that or not, but I definitely will have a spout here on a 12-volt pump so that we can pump water easily. I'm thinking also on this side of the kitchen that there'll be a flip up countertop space, because like you really can't get enough countertop space when you're living in a van, and having faces that swing up or come out of nowhere is like, you know, that's van life living gold right there. So lots of countertop space. We're just going to make it kind of flip up or hide away. Going over here, this is going to be like our closet, electrical space. I haven't figured out where I want to put the electrical system quite yet, but if, you know, like right here at present, this is where the battery is in Megan's van. So I might just put the electrical system in here. And again, the whole electrical system is going to be all rare earth elements electronics. So I have a 3000 watt inverter charger coming, 200 amp hours of lithium battery, 40 amp MPPT solar charger, 40 amp DC-DC charger, and also a I think 210 watts of solar that'll be up on the roof, and a collection of other stuff will be going in there as well. Here will be just probably pantry, food. Up here will be closet, cutlery, junk drawer, whatever. And then over here, this is going to be our wood stove. So I'm working with my friend's company. Andres owns a company, or he is the company. It's called tinystove.com, and he builds these really beautiful little wood stoves. And we're getting an item that has not been released yet, but it's called the Peanut. And it's a really, really tiny little stove, probably about that big, like that, and you know, like maybe a foot or a foot and a half tall. And when I saw that on his website as like a soon to be released item, I was like, Andres, I gotta get my hands on this thing because it's perfect for a van. So we'll be installing that, and also his very, very nifty exit kind of thing for a stovepipe. So right here will be our wood stove, and then down underneath will just be, you know, a small space for wood and stuff like that. Obviously you can see right here we have a lot of storage for clothing. These are going to be open shelves because I don't want doors, and I don't want the weight of doors and just to have to deal with hinges. So all of this is going to be bungee cord storage. So basically you just have a 1/4 inch bungee going over the faces of these openings, and that's what we'll keep our clothing in. Really, really excited for what I have so far, and I think it's going to give us a really, really good idea of you know, what we're going to build. Alright, so I have removed everything in the interior of the van now. That is finally done. Now it's time to kind of get a basic layout of what things are going to look like, you know, the size, where I'm going to put the bed and everything. I've already shown you guys the layout, the 3D design that I have. Now I just have to kind of find out what it looks like in the real world. So alright, it's the next day. I'm back at the shop. I had to leave yesterday just because I needed to get all the stuff out of the van because there's way too much stuff. Now there's a little bit less, and I can kind of move around a little bit easier. I've been thinking all night about how I'm going to do this. There's certain elements that have to come first in this build before I can move on to other elements, so I'll show you what that is. Alright, so starting with the kitchen, which you would have seen in the 3D design I showed you guys, there's going to be a kind of a kitchen stand going right here. That's going to house 2 of these jerry cans, side by side. The issue that I'm having is that when the door is closed, and the wall goes straight up, it's going to hit the door. But I need a second tank to sit right here, right beside it, but then I need the bed to come right here. So I kind of need to do a whole bunch of thinking, because actually that corner over there interacts with this right here, because we want at least a 48-inch bed, and I don't have 48 inches from that wall to right there if it's going to be able to pass here. So yeah, that's kind of the thing that you gotta, those are one of the many things that you have to think about when you're building vans, is if you have stuff that interacts, especially moving stuff, it makes it all that much more difficult. So here we go. Brain on. My brain's working now. Alright, I think I've sorted out what I'm gonna do. Because the two water tanks here, they don't actually protrude that far out onto the floor. What I'm gonna do is the bed platform that will eventually slide past the kitchen area, I'm just gonna notch it a tiny bit. It's only gonna be about a notch about that wide, so I should notice it underneath the mattress. So yeah, I think it'll work. I don't really know if the frame ends are the same exactly. Yeah. Now, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Meg and I went to Habitat for Humanity, or REE Store, and purchased a box of flooring, which turned out to be like $11, and there it is on the floor now. This right here is my ultra high-tech method of measuring things. Stack the stuff you need to build around on top of each other, then measure. And just like that, you know exactly how high you have to be. Thumbs up, everybody. Basically what I'm doing here is, that's going to be sitting on the floor, that's the induction top. So I know that I need to be roughly like 2 inches above this to fit everything. Actually probably more, because I got to put a small sink in the top, so it's probably going to be about here, I would say. Well, it's been a hot minute. I built a thing. This has been a bit of an interesting build. It's not super complicated, but for some reason my brain is just not working very well right now. So I've had to kind of really fiddle with this, but I'm getting close. So this is going to be the kitchen, and yeah, there's going to be a door that opens up right here, and then there's going to be a stove that comes out right here. There's going to be a sink up here, and then another flip-up thingy over here. Hey! Hey there, gang. It's Alex here from the show Alex Builds Stuff. Thanks a lot for following along on today's video. It's going to be the first episode of a little mini-series called Badass Betty, where we rebuild all of Megan's van. Right after this, there will be more adventure, I promise. So until then, remember to keep on roaming. Later.